So, to summarize what we had before, I'm going to write it out as 3 rules. So if we have some base to the power of, so that's going to be a base, to the power of 1 over n, then that's going to be equal to the nth root of that base. And if we have a base to a fractional exponent of m over n, that's going to be the base to the nth root, but to the mth power. So it's going to be b to the top part and to the nth root. Another way you could write this, actually, you could actually do it in the opposite order. What you could say it's the nth root of the b and to the m exponent. So these are essentially, it's the 1 or 2 rules of fractional exponents, to add on to all the other exponent rules that you know. Now, we're going to have exponential versus radical notation. So radical notation is essentially going to be when you have that kind of cool sign over there, and exponent notation is going to be when you don't and you just have exponents. So let's say you have, let's say the question is write as a radical. So if I have x to the 1/3 and I want to write it as a radical, what I would do, I was write it as, so let's say we have, let's say x to the 7 over 11 will be the other one. So x to the 1/3, x to the 7 over 11. So x to the 1/3 is going to be just, so that's exponential notation, radical notation, exponential notation. We want to be able to switch between the two. This one is going to be x to the 7. Oops. Yep. So we can write that as x to the 7 to the 1 over 11, which would be the 11th root of x to the 7. Or we could write it as x to the 1 over 11 to the 7, because 7 times 1 over 11 is 7 over 11, so I'm showing it in both ways. Or I'm essentially showing the 2 different ways of applying those things, which would be the 11th root of x all to the power of 7. And we can mention, that was example 2, I should say. We can mix and match those with negative numbers as well. So for example, let's say we had x to the negative 5 over 2. So how do we go about doing that? So we could say that this is the x to the negative 5 and square rooted. And we have, which is going to be equal to, and x to the negative 5 is just 1 over x to the 5 square rooted. Or another way we could do it, we have x to the minus 5 over 2. We could also say that it was the square root of x to the negative 5, which is 1 over square root of x. Oh, that's a horrible square. That's a 2. square root of x to the 5. Or even a third way we could do this. We could say that x to the minus 5 over 2, we could actually, before we turn to a radical, we could have actually gotten rid of the negative. And we could have said this is equal to 1 over x to the 5 over 2. Which would then be equal to essentially this one over here or that one.